Hello, viewers. I'm SB,
And I'm Amabel.
and welcome back to the musical episode of Amabel Goes to Forex School. And when I say the musical episode, of course, I mean musical episode 1 of 7. We're pretty close to the end of this game. We're coming up on the end of this thing. I don't want to overrepresent our closeness, but we're in the closing stages, at least, of the middle part of the game, if not much further. And I'm curious, how are you feeling about this whole thing? All right, we do have the black spot on them. This is just theoretically gonna keep continuing.
I mean, I'm getting a good sense of the game. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about our I think your ability to close the deal, and I don't think you're overstating. Like, in my experience, it's common for a trans girl to say that she's close to the end of something.
I almost want to just restart the. What is that? What is that? This is not okay. So first of all, a huge number of problems with everything you're doing here. First of all, who's this bid for? Secondly, that's not what I meant. I meant for you, Amabel, as an analyst of games, as a professional games person. How are you feel? Oh, Jesus Christ! How are you feeling about Endless Legend? And it's
It's really rad.
okay. This is the question. Okay.
It's really rad. It's really neat, and it has a lot of cool parts. And you continue to show me cool parts of it. And this is just with this one.
Yeah, this is
Faction.
This faction. You're ridiculous.
I usually behave myself.
When? When is that? I have never seen it. Okay, that's a lot of pink dudes coming up. Okay, our faction quest is incrementing. We have a mere 9 more turns of maintaining this this black spot before we are finally done with step 7, mastery over empires. It's a pretty thin kind of mastery, really. It's basically just like produce more influence than the other empires. And I mean, we can do it. We are outfitted for that. All right, what's up? Skykeeper Dabu Ofosu, our spy, has gained another level. And you know what we're going to do? Take Lord of the Trance, extra infiltration points,
So I guess
managing to level ourselves up even further. And speaking of leveling ourselves up,
Yeah.
we have reached infiltration level 5. This is the most infiltrationed we can possibly be. So we are here, deep in the Empire of the Draken, as ready to spy as a person could ever be. What do you think? What do we want to do? Do we just want to? We could steal vision. We could just get like complete and total knowledge of their empire. I know that our spy is in kind of like a low value city right now.
Yeah, so the city stuff wouldn't. You really want to do the empire-wide stuff.
Yeah, I think I like. Let's steal vision. At the cost of 32 influence. Uh-oh. Spy was partially wounded during the execution of the action. So, that means that they know what city it was in. We were wounded by the police of the city. So they know the spy was in Euro. But obviously, the whole point of this action was moving our spy out of Euro. So, I think let's just go ahead and infiltrate their capital. So you'll notice their capital is maybe a little underdeveloped at 7 population compared to like our capitals, our big cities at like 10 and 14. Regis is at 7 population, and we built that city like 10 turns ago. Also, the security level here is not especially high. They haven't really built up any like anti-spying structures. I think we are, in fact, just going to move our spy over to here, get a better idea of what they're up to, and in doing so, leave the city where we just got caught. So if they do build up any security stuff there, we are evading it. It is useful to have a quick look at what we've learned about their armies here, which is that they are very numerous. First of all, they do in fact have a guardian. Check this out. Skoros, the Dust Guardian. Secondly, they just have a lot of 6-unit armies running around. Notice 7 units in this city garrison, 7 units in that city garrison. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 armies running around inside of their borders, with many of their cities garrisoned up to full or almost full. They have a lot of military units.
Yeah.
I don't care for that. Well, if they want to make a move on us, we will at least see them coming at this point, since we have perfect vision over all of their stuff for a while. Andom has finished leveling up his science bonus skill, so we're going to grab up here, move up to the proselytizer. Not because we're particularly interested in this, but because we're using it as a bridge over into inspirational leader, which gives us even more science. Cultist heroes are always good for your high population cities, because they have skills for boosting basically everything that's important, and you can just kind of like customize them at runtime. Whatever it is that you really need, just make them focus on that. You are supposed to be running around and grabbing ruins and stuff.
So I have a question about the faction quest, because so every faction has its own quest line, and is that quest essentially the same steps each time you play that faction?
No, we did talk about this a little bit, like way back, so I'm not shocked that it does not necessarily remain super fresh. This is like very early in the series. For most of the steps in the faction quest, there are essentially like 2 different things that it could be. And it picks one of them at random when you arrive at that step.
Okay.
So even from game to game with the same faction, you will see some variation in what your faction quest is asking you to do.
And some are probably more exciting options than others. We've gotten this same thing twice in a row of the 10-turn black spot.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not the most fun, for sure. All right, we have lots and lots of science buildings left to build. We have so much dust income right now. We're pulling in almost 1,700 dust per turn. Our science output is phenomenal. We are really tearing this up. I think this is looking like it's probably a little bit more of a science game than a faction quest game, just because we are researching things so quickly. We're going to be pushing up into that final era in no time. Got a message from one of our friends. Your use of spies will soon... Oh, yeah. Okay. Threats. I mean, he does have an awful lot of military units in that ocean. If he wanted to make trouble, he probably could. I'm not going to spend a lot of time like optimizing the governors of our lesser cities here, but obviously like plus food. Plus food's good. More science output is good. Manure needs more buildings. This is our most science producing city, so 10% more science. Obviously pretty strong. We've also got enough population up to build another borough now. And we have managed to spider this city out and grab all of the anomalies that were even kind of close by. So I'm not really sure what is the best thing to do for it now. I guess it's to keep leveling districts up. So these 2 districts right here are both adjacent to 3 other districts right now. Putting something down right there would level them both. Or, you know what we could do? Hold on a second. Which kind of anomaly is this? Botanical garden? Okay. We haven't really talked about the things that can be researched in the 3rd tier of the what's it called? The temple. The altar of Auriga. These buildings that are made of pearls, right? This the stuff that interacts with the winter. So you have some of that the third tier, the things that can be researched after the third winter. Things like the winter burrow, which improves the output of all of the city's tiles during the winter. The idea being that you have like stored up some amount of resources so that you can keep working it closer to full bore. But you also get access to these special districts that function as double value extractors for strategic and luxury resources, and also a district you can build on top of an anomaly tile to double the output of that tile. We have 91 pearls right now. We've done a pretty good job of saving up, so I think we can afford to help ourselves to some fancy extra districts here. And if we put this down right there, it'll level both of those up. I'm going to actually push that up here because it's a very cheap build. That'll be good for the city. I am, to a certain extent, just trying to like rush through at this point, though, because I don't want to be overconfident. But I do feel like at this point we've sort of got this game. This can be a problem with the genre as a whole. Some games have it less than others, and Endless Legend takes some steps to try to minimize it. But
yeah,
like,
it definitely.
The winner of the game is determined long before the game actually ends. Most of the time, very few games come down to like the last critical moments.
Yeah, when we played through Civ, which again is my point of reference until we have gotten further into these courses.
And I think it's a fair point of reference because it's a thing a lot of people are going to be.
Yeah, it's a foundational thing.
It is.
Yeah. The point where the game became kind of sloggy was pretty early on with Civ. And here, like, it's still pretty engaging, but we are getting to the point where, like, all right, we know who's going to win. How do we, how many more turns until we get there?
Yeah, and to some extent, like the optimization exercise of like, how do I do a good job at the game starts to become the optimization exercise of how do I make this be over as fast as possible. And that's a little bit of a bummer,
Yeah. Is that a problem you think that people in the genre, working in the genre, are really interested in solving? I know they've done some work here, for example, and is Against the Storm 4X? Is it some number of X's?
No, I would not say that Against the Storm is a 4X. Against the Storm is like a city builder. It's a different. It's doing different things.
Do you think city builders in 4X games are substantially different, or are there some overlaps?
I mean, there are some like very broad overlaps in the sense that like you are building a thing.
Okay.
I mean, city builders are generally games where there is little to no opposition. There certainly is not like another player trying to win in a city builder.
Okay, but you do have the thing where you are, choosing what to build, where to put it, getting stuff for your population and whatnot. But it's a philosophically different thing, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. The optimization in the city builder is very much like to the degree that there is optimization in a city builder. It's about just sort of like satisfying your own desire to see number go up.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep my armies a little bit more in a position where they can respond if some asshole decides to attack my Urkin. Like I think this guy might be heading in that direction. We do have the money, if I'm not mistaken, to purchase another Ice Warg. But I guess actually we should probably get some Harmonites. I do want to rebuild my military a little bit. So Dubuo Fosu is doing his thing, gaining levels. We're building buildings. We are 6 technologies away from getting up into this last research era. And right now, like, aside from the, possibility of another player declaring war on us, there's not a huge amount for us to do except wait.
Yeah.
Like, because it is Endless Legend, and because, like, some of the systems, like, it behooves us to run around and grab pearls, right? Like,
Yeah.
but we have kind of a lot of pearls, and we're probably not going to run out. And running around the map and, like, making sure we're getting ruins during the eclipse is good. It's better to have resources than to not have resources, in that sense. But, like, we are definitely mostly waiting either for our faction quest to end or for our researches to fill up.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I do believe these guys are headed toward the Irkin. How's Fakir doing? Full health, with a full health Irkin Louse to back him up. I do not think we should have any problem taking this dude down, especially since we have support. If we were to attack right now, we get the garrison of the city, plus you can see Fakir is in the battle area, so we would get him as reinforcements. Is that the way I want to approach this? What does your army actually look like? This close up, we can see everything. 77 attack, 88 defense. Seeing some cavalry here with like 74 attack, 62 defense. And to compare those to our own units, you're seeing the attack levels are like fairly similar. Our Harmonites have pretty high defenses, but a place where we're way different than them is health. We're looking at like 420, 520 compared to 187, 270 on these guys. Like, these dudes are they're not very well equipped. Defensively speaking, especially, I do kind of think we're just going to jump them. Running around in my territory, threatening my Irkins. Who do you think you are? There's a mithrite extractor. Let's get that mithrite extracting. And then, it would be good. It would be good, I think, to have access to the ocean. Okay. And we're not going to rush complete stuff because, generally speaking, we are trying to get military units, but I don't want to spend time building them. So make sure this is our first reinforcements. They're going to retreat here, I think. Yeah. And now that they've retreated, all their units are badly damaged. And it behooves them to leave the area immediately. But we're not going to let them do that. They're out of movement right now, so they're still going to be here at the beginning of the next turn, and we are simply going to attack them again immediately. Because that is the price they pay. Again, for the next game, we're going to be running the community patch, and this Irkin protection situation is not going to be happening anymore.
Okay.
The game would like us also to note an Empire plan will be unlocked in 6 turns. We're doing okay on influence production. Should be running the Moonleaf. Should be fire and science stockpiles, just get this stuff all done as quickly as possible. Hero upkeep down, sure. Okay, so one problem I have is that a lot of these games, they're trying to keep their UI looking clear, and so you get this thing where, like, it abbreviates any number between 1,000 and 2,000 to 1K, but, like, the difference between 1,200 and 1,900 is very big, and I need to know about it. So if we mouse over this here, we have 1,890 influence right now. What we would love to be able to do is something like this, just go like crazy on the population and really, really pump people into the science engine. There's no way we're making it there, and we already have the 1610 that it takes to just like quietly reproduce the situation we had running, or we could even put some into military. Like, we're fine. I'm not going to stress about our influence production.
I'm surprised they don't go like 1.8K in that situation, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Especially since, like, if you look at how they've abbreviated the name of the technology that we're researching right now, they've guaranteed that there is enough space to just like move the star over a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. It's weird stuff. So we got another level on Endom because that city is completing buildings incredibly quickly. So we're just going to grab another 5% all resources for that city. Pink has closed their borders. This is them sort of rattling their saber about the fact that we have killed this army. But they shouldn't have run it over here. That's not my fault. Okay, what else does Manure want to do? Manure can still build more burrows, and it shall. I mean, there are other anomalies over here. We could just like really stretch the city all the way out, and I think we might end up with enough population to make that work. In fact, I might, since we're not really in a big hurry to get most of this stuff built, I might just focus this city on population for a while so we have a really, really, really large number of citizens when it comes time to kick it into like super science high gear in a minute here. Now, some of my behavior, like the fact that I'm not kicking it into super science high gear now, I'm still like kind of making engine plays, even though we're relatively close to the end, comes from playing with the community patch on and basically like at a higher difficulty where you really want to like compress. It's not about the smallest number of turns necessarily to is he gonna fight? Okay, he's gonna fight. It's not necessarily about the smallest number of turns to complete the thing, but it's about spending the smallest number of turns in the space after the announcement has been made to all players that you are pursuing a science victory, which is a thing that the game is going to announce that when we hit a certain threshold. I believe that happens at finishing the first victory tech, finishing the first of the 5, and then there's another notification when you finish the third. Because with the community patch on, that is when they get you. That is when that is when they come at you. That is when everyone around you comes at you with all of their knives drawn. So I try to like build up to have a nice burst available for that point. I'm not taking this battle very seriously because I do not think their troops are any good. Which is not to say that I think our troops are great, but we're certainly going to beat these nerds.
Well, be careful. Do you remember what happened to the French in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870?
Yes. Obviously, I remember that. In fact, that's such a silly... I don't know why you would even say that, because obviously I would remember such a critical, stunning victory.
That was not a victory for the French. So the French... I'll say this in the time it takes for you to finish this battle, I think. Okay, so the French had the best army on paper. They had very modern weaponry, like very modern rifles, and they were well regarded as like the best army around. And they went to war with Germany, which had a conscript army, so just raw recruits instead of, professional soldiers, using outdated rifles. But what the Germans had was a lot of people and a lot of logistical acumen, a lot of like really strong planning. So even though they had, worse troops on paper, they just wiped the floor with the French, thus ending the empire of Napoleon III.
And so the ancient country of France receded into history, never to be heard from again. I assume.
I mean, the thing about France, I'm not trying to talk out of pocket here, but like, they've had a lot of governments the last couple hundred years.
Yeah, any of
There's
them
been a
any
lot.
good?
Eh, there've been there's been a lot of different republics and empires and just like a lot of turmoil. So like, our is that one country? Is that's an interesting question about what defines a polity.
Sure. The sort of the country of Theseus.
Yeah, and anyway, they were like, these guys aren't very good. We can handle them, and they didn't do as good a job as you did.
Thank you. To be fair, those guys were idiots, and they forgot to wear their like weapons and armor to the battle. My guess from the particular layout of their stats, no, you assholes. I moved away from him for 1 second. Oh no, confusion is in the air. A strange crop of mushrooms appears, and its spores cause confusion and hesitation, even for the most highly trained mind. Plus 30% technology cost for 9 turns. No! All that's doing is slowing us down. Okay, so Purple has run an army over and attacked the Urkins in the one turn that we were not super nearby. I don't know if our Urkin is going to be able to defend himself. We'll see, I guess. He's close enough that we do get the city reinforcements, so that's good. This does not look like a very real... What are you doing? 32 attack, 46 defense. What is this unit design? My man. I mean, I guess like his army, his empire is tiny. Not tiny. It's not so tiny anymore. But his tech is probably really bad. This seems like a very silly thing to have done. I'm just going to hit auto-resolve. It doesn't feel to me like we need to manually... Yeah, that... How else could that possibly have gone? The AI, it needs some help. This is in my opinion.
Badge.
This is in my opinion the biggest problem with 4X games, and it comes from the fact that I mostly play them single player, but like so does everybody else, right? Like I know that it's not like exclusively the case, but a lot of people play these games single player, and the AI just needs to... It's not fair to be like, developers, this is a dereliction of duty. Because, like, this is a hard problem. And, like, the mathematical definition of hard problem.
Yeah.
But, like, the AI, it has to be better. It just has to get better. And it's a thing that it does not feel like the biggest players in the space, like Phyrexis especially, has any interest in working on. That is not the thing they are doing over there.
Do you think that they designed with the intention of multiplayer?
No. I think it's very clear that they are not designing with the intention of multiplayer.
Well, then why wouldn't okay.
I mean, part of it, I hate to say this the way that I'm going to say this is going to sound bad.
Oh, this is going to be good. I love this.
I'm sorry. Part of it is that...
We get ready to post it.
Yeah. The eclipse ended, so we're not getting our special searches here, but we can at least do a normal search. Part of it is that, most people are pretty bad at these games. I'm good at the games, and most people are not as good at the games as I am, and I hate to,
I mean, you are, though.
I'm not trying to like hype myself up here. To a certain extent, I'm ashamed of how much time I've spent playing 4X games.
You're not trying to big timer people.
No.
Did I use that right?
No. But it's mostly conjugation issues at this point. She had never heard... I accused her of big timing me about something the other day, and she had never heard the expression before. I guess y'all can let us know in the comments if that's a thing that would have baffled you as well, if somebody accused you of big timing them. I feel like it's a common enough expression. I don't know. I don't know how people talk. I barely understand how I talk. I would like to...
That makes 2 of us.
I would like to get one more military unit out into this army, at least. Probably another ice warg. And then we can go back to spending our money on buildings. But I do think we need to step up a little bit here. Let's grab... Like, where do we want to put the dock here? I guess it doesn't super matter because we're not going to be able to level it up no matter what. So yeah, let's just put that down there. Okay, we've got enough titanium for another Imperial funding structure. So where... Ooh, or to build the living lab tools. You know what? Let's prioritize that. So this is a once per empire building. There's a fair number of these in this game. Once per empire buildings that give like some very, very large bonus to one city. This doubles the science output of the city you build it in. I think it can go right here. That's my feeling. I also think that it's been a little while since we've seen... Weren't we getting industry stockpiles at some point? Hold on, I do want to put... I want to put the gas on. Let's get these living lab tools finished. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen an industrial stockpile. Okay, well, now that you no longer have... I guess there's a sea ruin up here. That's worth checking out. I was going to say, now that you no longer have ruins to chase, we may as well just, like, put you in a city and forget about you. Because, again, we are just kind of pushing through the real-world human minutes until things complete. Our mastery over empires is, in fact, coming to an end here, and the bad mushroom event has slowed down our research, so who knows? Maybe we are talking about faction quest stuff. Let's see what it looks like. We've received 640 dust. Huzzah! Morgar can subjugate lesser beings, break great empires, impatience and urgency. It is time to take the great risk. Dominate the fortresses, extract their secrets, break the curse of the jailers that holds back the Morgar. Conquer Auriga, leave Auriga, conquer the stars.
Oh, man.
And so here we are, the final bit. Quest 8, quest added, Step 8, Taste of Freedom. We're finally here. Morgar exults. Others are weak, without purpose. Kill each other for dust. Little minds thinking little thoughts. No vision, no intent. Only Morgar sees world as one world. People as one mind. Only Morgar can use one great mind to control many small ones. Only Morgar will prevail. See, last step to freedom, last chain to break, last vestige of evil tools of the jailers. Jailers feared Morgar great intent, Morgar mind. Jailers were not stupid. Jailers created dampening wave, an engine driven by tides and currents to suppress Morgar thoughts, limit Morgar movements. Fortresses and jailers' beasts are all part of the dampening wave. Must control them, breach them, make the engines turn through seasons and pry out their secrets with dust. Freedom will be expensive, painful, long, but there is no other goal. There is no other reason to exist. Freedom. So we have to control Mean and Undand at the end of a turn. I don't know off the top of my head which ocean regions those are. So we have Undand. We do not control Mean currently. We do have vision of it, and unfortunately what we know because of that vision is that this fortress has 7 ships garrisoned inside of it.
That's a lot.
And we have functionally no navy. We could build a navy up, but honestly, maybe we should just ride. Like, we need 2 more researches to get into the final era, and then...
Yeah.
This is the thing where, like, starting a war at this point and then prosecuting the war, although we would almost certainly be successful, is going to add so many real-world human minutes to the victory that even if it ends up being, like, many turns shorter, it's probably not shorter.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to kind of stay the course here. This is definitely, like, my least favorite thing about 4X games is this kind of, like, okay, I won, can I just, like... And the fact is, for a lot of people, especially, like, just playing single player, at this point they would just stop playing. They'd be like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
They have paid the influence necessary to nullify the black spot. They waited long enough for the cost to come down. Fine by me.
Is that a thing that you do?
I usually ride it through to the end, in part because I want, like the achievement or whatever, the formal notification that I victored. An Urkin emerges. There is a third Urkin, and it has shown up, and it's pretty close. It's pretty nearby. So you can see, like, they're still adding, like, major combat elements to the game and stuff at turn 100. Things don't really calcify game state-wise, except in the sense that at some point one of the players is too strong for the other players to meaningfully interdict, like... And that's not necessarily a thing about the game or the game state. It's a thing about the AI, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised that maybe it's something that other games do differently.
We actually
in the
did
genre,
end up over
but,
3,000 influence. We might have been able to get to this place.
but I'm surprised that the games don't. The only way to remove a player is through military defeat. That an empire that's like really far behind, like the teeny tiny one that has crap units and just threw them at you. There isn't a way for it to just measure that, like, oh yeah, this one's not doing much of anything and just collapse.
Yeah, some kind of like snowball toward victory for the leader kind of thing, because of the fact that, like, yeah, I think there are probably a lot of solutions to the problem, but I wish I could tell you off the top of my head where it was that I saw this. Because there's a developer interview I saw with one of the Civ developers, and it might have been like Civ 5 era at this point. It might be some time ago, and this might not represent their current thinking, whatever. I know that obviously they have different people at the head of the projects now, but I remember reading that, like, basically they don't spend a lot of effort dev-wise, like, especially dev time, man-hours wise, on the parts of the game after the beginning, because most people don't play those.
I mean, that makes sense. I saw the rock bands.
Again, I'm pretty sure that they were not talking about Civ 6. But, like, yeah, the idea that, like, because people will get to a certain point in the game and go, and then tap out, rather than fix that problem, they just try to make the part that people are already playing more engaging, which is, I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
that's
that's
an approach.
It's a way to do it if you're not interested in, like, upsetting the apple cart, not interested in, like, radically
if you're
redesigning.
like sort of, if you're not interested in games as anything other than a consumer product that you would like to keep selling.
This reminds me a bit of so this is two fewer X's.
Okay.
The 18XX games, the train games.
Sure.
Because usually you know who's won about 3 hours in, you got 5 hours left, which that's a shorter period of time to play than one of these games, obviously. But, like, the reasons why that is, the things people like about it are also reasons why it's difficult for people to find a way to end the game sooner. Because they like that arc of it, and there are some possibilities of coming back. Not easy, but like, there's some interesting 18XX design, but a lot of it is kind of married to the essential initial form of it, and the conventions of it. And so we just, it's going to be 8 hours, and we know who's going to win 3 hours in, we're going to keep going. My friend Cole once said that the stuff he really loves about 18xx is in like the first 2/3 of the game, and then the back third of it is just so dull. I'm paraphrasing slightly here. It's just so dull, and he wondered if that was the price you had to pay to get the good stuff. And I don't know if that's true. I think you could make a game that ends at the exciting part, but it would require throwing out a lot of conventions.
Okay, I have a lot of things to say about the thing you just said, but the first thing I want to say is my friend Cole is very funny to me.
What? What do you mean?
Just the casualness with which you're like, and when I was talking to Cole Worley about this,
I didn't know.
Cole Worley, designer of one of the most well respected and famous war games of the past 10 years, and you didn't do that because you literally don't think of it that way because he is to you just your friend Cole, but like. Within the arena we're talking about, he's like a significant person, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't trying to name drop him or anything. That's why I just. Well, no,
you weren't. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think you should have. I think that would have been a reasonable thing to do.
I mean, if you look at it this way, I published one of his games. He never published one of my games, so I feel like I'm the significant figure in that relationship.
Fair enough. Okay, so. We have researched enough to get into the final era. I'm coming back to some other stuff about the thing you said, but notice that at this point, researching an Era 5 technology would cost us like 10,000 science. We're producing 5,600 per turn, so a couple of turns worth of research.
Yeah.
Stepping up into these Era 6 technologies, the research cost is 121,986 science. But look at what they do. There's one for basically like each major resource, and they just double your outputs. In addition, if we get 5 of the 6 of these researched, we just instantly win the game. At that point, we have so much scientific knowledge and so much raw resource output, it would not be possible for anyone to stand against us. And I like the fact that the idea here in Endless Legend is you just get to a point where like you're too strong and they tap out. But I do think that it actually should be like 30 or 40 turns sooner is all. I have had games come down to the wire. Games do come down to the wire. And when we see the Endless Legend community patch, you're going to see more of that.
5 out of 6 seems steep for that.
You think so?
Yeah. Especially, I mean, I would imagine them more like 3 out of 6 or 3 out of 5 or something, but I don't know.
Okay, so here's where we start. Here's where we turn it on. We've got this science engine. Let us activate it. So if we take right now, the difference engine is reporting as taking 22 turns to research. We have a lot of people in this city who can be reassigned to science. That's pulled 6 turns off of it right there. We're about to finish our living lab tools, which are going to apply another 100% science boost. It's not actually going to double the science outputs of the city because, the percentage boosters stack additively with one another, and we're already receiving several percentage boosters. It's a little more complicated than that, but, we're going to be making some decent value here. This city is building out, and I'm just going to go to the science tab here, or to the population tab, and we're just going to kind of kick every city into science mode, more or less at this point, and major building type stuff is going to get done via dust mostly from here.
Okay.
We got our big science city to 26 workers before kicking it over into gear, and I think that's not a bad place to be. So, okay, difference engine down to 13 turns already. There are still significant science buildings being built. We're still doing meaningful science upgrades in places. Most significantly, Forany. Okay, Forany has most of the meaningful science upgrades. Dells is a pretty big city. Dells could still use an Imperial News Network. We'll throw that in the queue. How are we doing on boosters? We have Moonleaf, and we have enough Moonleaf to keep the Moonleaf booster running, so I don't need to go purchasing that. There are stockpiles on the market, just sitting here. Guess we're going to help ourselves to those. So stockpiles, just throw an extra 1,600 science on the Empire's output. If you run multiple stockpiles, they don't run all at once. They run one per turn, stacked up until you run out of, stuff you've committed. Unfortunately, there is no just consume them all button, which of course would be handy. And then, sure, continue going after that. It will matter, I bet. All right, so down to 11 turns. We're still finishing science buildings. So when we hit end turn here, we're hoping to see that number go down lower than 10.
Okay.
Right, big science buildings finishing. It looks like no such luck, sadly. None of the science buildings we finished there took a turn off. In fact, the number went up in a way that I was not expecting because the Moonleaf ran out. Okay, there we go. 9. 9's better.
9 is better.
And on the seer gets another 5% science for his city.
All right. You were going to say something.
Yep. Sorry. 1 sec.
Okay.
Also, there's this Pearl building, Nyctalopian lenses. I forgot about this until just now. This gives immunity to the winter vision penalty to the city, which is nice. Winter causes the vision range of all your buildings and stuff to fall back. These are lenses that don't frost over, I guess. A simple modification to the windows in public buildings. But it also gives plus 10% science. We should definitely throw one of these in this city, and because it's actually a very early game building, it essentially has no cost. That'll just get done. Okay. Yeah. So another thing I was going to say is that you are talking about how partially in jest, you said, 3 hours into an 8-hour game, and that's faster than one of these games in multiplayer. But we haven't really talked about the concept of game speed yet.
Okay.
But a lot of these games do have sort of like there's a default speed around which they are balanced, and then there are other speeds you can play them at that warp the experience like pretty badly.
In the way speed chess warps chess?
No, because speed chess doesn't change the rules of the game. It makes you play the game faster.
Okay.
Speed 4x does change the actual fundamentals of the game. Like when they say speed, they're not referring to time per turn. They're referring to number of turns.
Okay.
So like it reduces, taking the game up to the quickest speed, which I will note in Civ 5 and Civ 6, I believe the quickest speed is actually called online. It is like the intended multiplayer speed. Just reduces the cost of all researches by 50%. It reduces the cost of building military units by 50% and stuff like that. Oh, right, the technology costs. Mushroom season is over. Technology costs are returning to normal. That's probably helpful for us. Yeah, there we go. Difference engine in 6 turns. We're getting there. We're doing it.
Okay.
But they do not similarly they don't increase the movement speed of your units or affect the relative attack ranges of units in the same way, right? So they change the balance of some systems much, much, much more than they change the balance of other systems. And they really produce an extremely different play experience.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Because something that
where sort of military play is even more sort of impotent than it is under normal circumstances. Because a lot of these games are designed to sort of favor defenders and reward kind of turtley.
Yeah.
And please don't understand me saying that as criticism. I love to turtle up and just make my numbers increase. That's my favorite thing. That's why I play these games.
I mean, historically defensive. It's easier to be a defender than an attacker. Like in human history,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, like physics, just like.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, what you just described like gave me like a mild panic, not panic attack. That's overselling it, but like because my background is like hobby simulationist board games where like questions of scope and scale are
Yeah,
so.
questions of scale, particularly, are so important to what you do. We should really build this climatology guild. Fortunately, early game strategic resources are often very cheap on the market because people just have a billion of them.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
But because of that, like the idea of changing some systems but not others, not taking that into account with the scale, despite the fact that these games don't. Well, I'll say at least Civ doesn't have like a scale that makes sense in the first place.
Right, yeah.
But like it just, it hurts. It hurts to think about it because it's such an important. You don't want to oversell it because there's certainly people within that neck of the board game industry who like who have an inflated sense of like the scientific accuracy of their models, which is kind of,
Yeah.
all models are wrong, etc. But like that, those decisions do matter and do frame the verisimilitude and the play. And oh yeah, no, I can't, like, I can't imagine not thinking about that. One thing I really like about this is that essentially the a lot of the stuff exists on one scale, and then the military aspects are concentrated on a different scale with these tactical battles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really smart move, and it's done fairly quickly. So like it works really well, I think.
Buying some food stockpiles. I realized I hadn't done this yet. There's like a lot of things we could do to optimize this in various ways. And now I'm just going to pour food into Manure and try to push the population even higher.
Okay.
Once again, we're talking about 1,600 extra food per turn for 10 turns here, which should result in some births. Because this is how birth works. Everybody knows when you want to increase the population of your people, you just find the brood mother and feed her as many apples as you can find, and that makes then there's more of the jellies, the brood jellies, for everyone. Right? This is a thing.
Yeah.
All right, are we gonna get in a fight over Khazar? Probably not. I don't care to spend the real world minutes doing it. So, different engines coming on now. We are unfortunately afflicted with winter, which is going to have some effects. It's mostly going to screw with our economy, but it does, by reducing the amount of food that's outputting, it is reducing the amount of new scientists that are being born constantly.
Okay.
At some point, we were supposed to destroy all the bathyspheres in Haunter, and that has happened without us. But that's considered quest completion. And while you were talking, you may have noticed, I set a bunch of our cities to build to this Royal University project. What this does is it produces a science stockpile. You could just channel industry into science this way.
Okay.
Stockpiles cost 2,500 industry to build, and because of all of our stockpile-related technologies, when we fire them, they will produce 1,600 science. So it's not like a super efficient conversion, but it does allow us to just channel the one thing into the other thing. But that's only half of the reason I did it. The other thing that's really nice about it is that because they're big, expensive projects, it means that once you tell a city to do that thing, the city is doing it for a while.
Okay.
They stop asking me for orders, and this, again, saves real-world minutes because we're trying to get to some kind of conclusion here. I think this is definitely, like, to some extent, this is something I meant to say earlier, but to some extent, yeah, but we got to push through until we hit an actual conclusion thing is like a Let's Player problem more than it's a problem even with the game. Oh, hi, Pink.
Okay.
What are you doing? I feel like I owe the viewers closure on a game. And so I want to get to a proper ending rather than going, okay, we did it, we're good, let's tap. And that does mean that sometimes we're just kind of like hanging around waiting for things to conclude the way they're going to conclude. Because at this point, Pink could declare war on us, and I'm fairly sure we could take their massive armies because their troops are bad and their weapons are weak. They're technologically really behind.
Yeah.
We are at 3788 dust, and it would be 3870 to rush this building. Okay, let's sell some shit we don't need. There is sort of a price floor on strategics. You know, you're never going to get less than about 50 dust for selling a stack of 10 glass steel. And we sure do have some glass steel. Okay, the Draken actually did manage to get him. They managed to get him with a lot of units intact. Did they bring better stuff? Oh, they did. Look at that. They've upgraded. Although to some extent, that may be that they brought, there's a hero here who has like competent capabilities or capacities and stuff. You can see Army Health Boost 3, Army Damage Boost 2, and they brought their Guardian along as well. All right, I'm gonna let them enjoy that then. I see no percentage in getting into trouble with that. That being the case, I think we can just send our army back toward our other Urkins in case somebody else wants to get weird. Alright, so the Climatology Guild, plus 15% science on every level 2 district. Obviously very strong in this city. And, I was talking about how we have a bunch of percentage boosters running, right? That means that any flat increases to base science output that are available to us that are still available to us at this point are incredibly powerful. Right, because all the science output of this city is being multiplied by like 500-600%. This is interesting. What are you up to over there, friend? Debo, how you doing? Okay, we're gonna be at infiltration level 5 next turn. We're gonna maybe do a thing. We're gonna maybe just let them know that it's maybe this number of units in my country. I have feelings about it. They're also definitely just trying to kill Chaka here. The best thing to do with Chaka would probably be pull up stakes and move toward Forani, or maybe move toward Raelian. I don't know. Moving toward Raelian, I don't know that I would actually be close enough to the city. How fast is this army? 5.3 movement points. So like 1, 2, 3. I'm not gonna be able to get away from them. These are definitely a lot less good units. You can see these are like sub 100 attack and defense units. Well, most of them. He's got like 1 or 2 very modernized units mixed in. Very weird army design. All right, the best thing is probably then, let's pick you up, move you to like here, and replant you. Because I want to get our army into position to play defense, but I also want to try to bring a city garrison in if we can.
That makes sense.
Okay. So Manur's going to reach out and grab the last couple of anomalies. And here comes the difference engine. Got to make sure I hit the execute your movement orders button at the beginning of the turn. Minor faction army actually kind of like ran in and screwed things up a little bit, but I think we're in reinforcement range.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is a difference engine?
It calculates differences in the
that's
in the
neat.
mathematical sense, subtraction.
Okay.
Okay, so we did it. Not a lot of fanfare there, but plus 100% science output of cities. You will notice our empire output, science output per turn, has risen from about 5,600 when last we looked to 17,502.
Okay.
That was me activating that engine we've been building this whole game. And the second game-winning technology is only going to take 6 turns to build from here. Now we have to defend this Urkin. So this is the ranged Urkin, and we do want to probably have maximum range away from our foes. Just place ourselves defensively here, and let's do it. They have a couple of people with higher initiative. Oh, you know what I didn't notice? They have a combat movement speed of 1. Why is that? I know that you're slow, but huh. I'm actually not sure why they're that slow. But okay. It does mean that Chaka is going to end up running in front of the defenders there because he doesn't have the range necessary to attack from that distance. I was trying to let them come to us, but I guess that's not how that's going down. See, our hero... I'm used to some of the simple AI upgrades from the community patch here. Our hero did not actually move out of the reinforcement tile before attacking because he had the range to attack from there, which means that we're not going to get a reinforcement on this tile. The tile's already full. That was devastating. So that's bad. You always want to vacate your reinforcement tiles before stuff happens.
I do like that though. Like it wouldn't be fun happening, but like I like the kind of I do like the unpredictability of
and there's important strategic elements to it in that like it gives cavalry a really interesting way to interact with reinforcements where like if you can pin the opponent's units on their reinforcement tiles, you sort of cut their reinforcements off or at least slow their approach for several turns.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I feel things like reinforcements should never feel deterministic because, again, historically, people never necessarily arrived at the right place at the right time, and that gives a lot of battles and a lot of human history as far as it concerns military stuff, like its flavor.
All right, that was easy enough. I don't know how they thought that was going to turn out, but there we go. So we have 4 more technologies to research in order to win the game, and we're coming at them at a pretty decent rate. And our science output is going to continue to go up. We should definitely fire some stuff here. Double XP for heroes, absolutely, no question. Science stockpiles, love those. Okay. But it is actually still going to take, it's going to be a little while. So this is where we're going to call the episode.
Okay.
It's over, but it's not over. And when you come back next time, we will be wrapping this one up as quickly as humanly possible. But I do feel like this is important to really like, to the sort of like the goal of this series. I do feel this is important to capture sort of in its full. And if we can get this thing wrapped up enough before the hour, we'll just embark on the next game because we already know what's happening with that. So come back next time for that, all of that stuff, perhaps, and we'll see you then.